All right, everyone, good evening. If you are on the eastern side of the Atlantic, and good evening or good afternoon if you're on the western side where I am. Welcome to the latest edition of the Daily Gooner Pod. Joining you from the US, I am Raphael, and joining me from London this evening, my partner Sam. Welcome back, Sam. Good to
Hello,
see you
mate.
again.
And you. Hope everything is good.
Things are good. Things are good. All right. Arsenal returned after a long hiatus and a camp, kind of an impromptu camp, a welcome camp. It was almost a winter break. We always talk about a winter break. Arsenal got one. They went to Dubai to got some work in, and as we've seen a couple times from this team, when they have received breaks, they got in. They have put it to good use. They did it at the beginning of the year after their horrendous start. They had an international break that let them kind of coalesce. It seems like Mikel Arteta, whatever you say about him, takes advantage of these breaks, and it took advantage of this one. Arsenal wasn't pretty. We didn't expect it to be pretty. They're playing a tough competitor. Wolves were immediately behind them in the table. But they went up to the Molineux and gutted out a 1-0 victory, probably even more impressive because they had to do it with 10 men for much of the time.
Yeah, ultimately with that game, it was a big game for us because you've got to give props to Wolves really because they've snuck up on the pack chasing top four just by grinding out consistent results because obviously when Nuno went to Spurs, everyone's like, "Oh, are Wolves going to be any good?" Under I think his name is Large or Lau or something like that. He's he has been very solid for them and got them back on the right track. And obviously, with Wolves, we always know that they're going to be a difficult game, but we also know that they are going to give you opportunities. And lucky enough for us, we was able to stick it in from the corner. Personally, I thought it was going to be disallowed given how the referees have been treating us over the last couple of years. But lucky enough, it was knocked on by Lacazette, and Gabriel stuck it in for the winner. So for us, it's good news. Got 3 points over a team that's tried to push into that next echelon. And for us, it put us in a very good position over the weekend without even playing. So overall, very good game.
We'll talk about that in a moment, but let's stay with this match. Coming into it, we were saying, the question was, with Aubameyang now at Barcelona, the thin up top, Balogun's on loan. It's really Lacazette and Nketiah for the last 16 games. In this case, come into the last 17. The big question was, how is Arsenal going to score? I think that's still very much up in the air. They scored off a really kind of dirty goal, if you will, just with the ball bouncing around in the box off a corner. Gabriel was there to poke it in. And, there was 1-0. And is this the blueprint that we're going to be looking at going forward?
Well, you've got to think that with Arsenal, since we've got the new set piece coaching, for the life of me, can't remember his name, but since he's come in, we've looked a lot better at set pieces, and I think that's one part of the game that we really, really, really lacked. And if we've got that moving forward, then absolutely superb. I'll be more than happy about that. But the one thing that I must stress is that if we get chances, we need to be sticking them away. We can't be this team that gets 3 or 4 chances, fall into say Lacazette, like again this one late in the second half where we could have killed the game off.
Mm-hmm.
All comes to him. You think, okay, we're in here. All he has to do is hit the back stick. But unfortunately, that's the inconsistency with Lacazette. He'll sometimes stick that in, but 9 times out of 10, it'll be the same result as what happened this time and ending wide. And now, you've got to give credit to Lacazette coming out after on Instagram saying that, oh yeah, I should have stuck that one away. Yeah, that's all well and good, but we've got to be extremely careful that we're not giving away these games and we're
Right.
not giving away needless points. And then a player coming out and saying, "Oh, I should have done this. I should have done that." Sorry, but actions for me speaks louder than words. And the way that Mikel likes his training camp, they would have done a lot of positional training, a lot of training around finishing, and a lot of training around chance creation. So for me, I know football isn't a black and white thing, but a man of his experience should be sticking that away. And at that point, it's 2-0. Game then's probably dead. And yeah, we was just lucky that nothing else come from that. To be honest.
And let's be honest, this is the second consecutive match where he's had an opportunity to put the game away. I mean, that was true against Burnley in the 0-0 draw, where he had an open goal and missed it again to the right. Now we know he's a streaky player. I was commenting to you in the chat. I do think that at some point in this run-in, he'll catch fire again, because that's Lacazette. He runs hot and cold, but in the short term, that's no comfort. Especially when they have Wolves coming up 2 matches, that turns right around. They come to the Emirates, but let's stick with the good things. Ramsdale was sharp. The defense was solid. Rob Holding comes on as a substitute was massive, and keeping Wolves and helping keep Wolves off the score sheet. Kind of threw this out. I was watching them and I was thinking, just a few years ago when Leicester had their run in, and we kept thinking, how can this team do it when they outpaced Arsenal and Chelsea and everybody else to a title, and they just kept grinding out 1-0 wins, and they were defensively strong, and they found ways to score goals off set pieces, off corners, however they just became consistent at that. Is this the blueprint that we might? I don't think any of us want this, but is this the blueprint that might be in front of us?
Possibly. I think you hit the nail on the head there with one thing that Leicester were, and that's consistency. Obviously, with Leicester, they had a very experienced squad. With that title winning side, for us, it's a bit difficult because we've got a lot of young players in this side, so there's always going to be that inconsistency. Now, it'll be a big testament to the squad if they're able to find that consistency and as you say, grind wins out through now and the rest of the season. Because if we're able to do that, I think that's top 4 there and then. I'll probably say top 3, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that given the inconsistencies that we've seen so far, I think that we've got to manage our expectations. The expectation was to get Europe at the start of the season. Now I know that we've been presented with a fantastic opportunity. I just feel that we need to temper our expectations and not get on the team's back if things don't go right. Because ultimately, what this team needs from us as fans is for us to be 12th man, both online, stadium, just showing them support. They don't need to be seeing hate and things like that, because ultimately it will go against us as a team.
Right. It is, in the cliche that applies to the club, applies to us as fans as well. We have to take this one match at a time. Let's talk about the turnaround. I mean, what did we learn watching Arsenal play Wolves that can benefit them in the rematch? Obviously, they're going to start this match with 11 players rather than they finish with 10, but they get to start with 11 again. Even in let's talk about this bizarre case with Martinelli with the two yellow cards from one sequence. Again, we were all baffled by this. Have you heard anything? It seems like that's in cement now. He's going to miss a match.
Yeah, he is, unfortunately, because you can't overturn 2 yellow cards. It's for me, I just think the whole thing was bloody ridiculous. Because the thing is that with referees, and I've banged on about this all season long, is consistency. We have that from Michael Oliver. And then in a game that he done against Brighton, one of their players done exactly the same thing, hauled the player down, wave play on, and then he hacked the player down, which is arguably worse than what Martinelli's foul was. And he was just given a yellow card. Now, as Arteta said, the referee had to be very willing. As commentators said, he wanted to get himself into the news. But for me, I don't want to rant about this too long because I could be here all day ranting about this.
We all could, right?
For me, the first one is a foul. You can't interrupt a quick firing. It's just a matter of fact. You know you're going to get yellow then. Ultimately, the ball wasn't in play, and if he was going to give a yellow card, he should have blew the whistle and given the yellow card there. Because realistically, you can't play advantage from a throw-in. You just can't. The second thing is when he's chasing the ball back and the player, you see the player deliberately step across, which is smart on his play, but then he gets a little tap on the back and then he goes down. So I'm just thinking to myself, okay, it's a foul, but not everything is a bloody yellow card. And I thought Michael Oliver got caught up in the occasion. It's going to be detrimental to us. We know what referees have been like with us for years now. Like Ryan showed me something from the Premier League stats, and it appears that if every foul that we've made, or more or less every foul that we've made, according to the Premier League, the equivalent is that we've had a yellow card. And for the games that we haven't had a yellow card, it's been made up with a red card. So it seems to me that Arsenal being refereed to the highest echelon and to the absolute letter of the law, yet in the Man City game, Rodri can get away with six or seven fouls, and then he gets booked for taking his shirt off after scoring the winner. So for me, it's that consistency with refereeing, and if it's good for one, it's got to be good for the other. So I don't know whether Arsenal are going to go to the PGMOL, but they've got a lot of evidence there to say, look, what you're doing is wrong. Even the time we're getting booked for time wasting for coming up to a free kick. Like Gabriel got booked for time wasting on a free kick. It's I think for me as an Arsenal fan, it's getting ridiculous. But me, for a football purist point of view, it's ruining the game also because you're not allowing a team to effectively compete. And I know some of that has got to go down to the players and the smartness of the players, but you've got to think you've got to look at the referees as well. Like you've got to use common sense. It's common sense. You just don't try to send people off at the earliest convenience. And to be perfectly honest with you, I've said online, I think the PGMOL is corrupt. There's been corruption in that organisation for years. You get ex-Premier League referees like Mark Clattenburg coming out saying, "Oh, we've been given directive not to send people off when they should have been sent off," and things like that, and not to give penalties when penalties were blatant. And it's just what can you do? This is the best league in the world, and it's being ruined by amateurs.
Topic for another week, I hope. Again, but it seems we want to brush it aside, but it seems that we can't escape it. It seems every match this subject rears its head. Certainly this season. I mean, in seasons past, but especially this year, it seems that we grouse earlier about Xhaka, but it's not just Xhaka this time. It seems here's Martinelli, here's Gabriel, here's everybody is being bitten by this. So.
And it seems to me with referees as well, with certain players, they come in with a perceived idea that, oh, they're going to do something silly this game. I'm going to book them straight away. And I must stress, this isn't just Arsenal. This is a league-wide issue, to be honest. Because I'm sure other teams can point to some of their players getting easy bookings all the time or offences going against them. But I'd like for somebody actually who does the compilations just to put every single refereeing mistake in the compilation into a compilation, and I can guarantee you it'll be over 3 hours long.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think you put your finger in the bigger point. You know, we can, as Arsenal fans, we can grouse about it. But if you watch a lot of matches, non-Arsenal matches, this is a Prem problem. I don't think there's any question about that. It's long standing. It's not, and long standing. I'm talking over a decade. So
yeah, and I think that it's interesting that there's reports coming out. Well, come out the week just gone, saying that the FA are going to overhaul the PGMOL and the standard of refereeing in the Premier League. Now, for the FA to stand up and do that, if
it must
I
be
must
bad.
stress, a big if this does happen, then you know something big has gone down between the FA and the PGMOL because they don't answer to anybody. They've got no accountability. They don't need to answer to anybody, not necessarily even the FA. So if the FA have finally looked at this and gone, nah, this enough's enough, then fair play to them. And it's about time.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Let's stay with Wolves for 1 point, okay? Because, again, Arsenal play Brentford on the weekend, and then they turn right around a few days later, and they play Wolves again. What's your takeaway when Wolves come to London? I know before the red card, Arsenal was buzzing around. First 20 minutes, they looked very promising. You know, they didn't create a lot of chances, but they had a lot of possession, a lot of good movement, a lot of quick movement around in Wolves' half around their goal. They can avoid the craziness, the rush of blood to the head, and have the home field advantage. What will you hope for in that rematch?
Do you know what? I think it depends how Smith Rowe plays against Brentford because I liked Martinelli's energy. If Smith Rowe can produce the same, I think that he will probably retain his place there. I think that what we really need to do is just suffocate Wolves, not allow them out. Because if we're able to do that and just keep constant pressure, if our attacking front line is able to have the scoring boots on, I think that we can probably get 3 or 4. If we allow Wolves to come and play and dictate the tempo, then I think the game is going to be very difficult. I don't think that we should allow Ruben Neves to dictate the play, or even allow him to give them a big diagonal out ball because we know they've got pace on the wings also. So for me, it's to really contain and set traps for them and smart traps within our build up of play. And that might even come to the point of where we say, okay, we concede cheap possession in their half, regroup like midway into the pitch, set traps, and then counter on them from there. Because there are some scenarios where you can see teams purposely lose possession to then regroup and then counter higher up the pitch. So it's just about being smart. And I know we've just been talking about the referees and yellow cards and whatnot, but if there are scenarios where we're getting overrun, just a quick tactical foul, and just do it in tandem with other players like Partey will do one, Xhaka will do one, say Smith Rowe will do one, you know, so you don't get the constant from one player. But I think that ultimately we'll have enough fought against Wolves. I think we better, because I'll be there and I'll be going straight from work.
Well,
So
no, you bring up an excellent point. You know, I was talking about those first 15, 20 minutes. One thing that was obvious straight from the opening whistle, watching them they worked a lot, and I mean a lot, on coordinating their press, because this was the tightest, most cohesive. It wasn't just one guy or two guys. They were coming in five, four in, and when one would go forward, one would tuck in behind. Obviously, seizing possession, creating turnovers in the opposition's half was a priority, and I saw it, and you saw it, and they didn't generate a goal from it in this match. But I have to think, given how effective it was before the red card, that's got to make Mikel, that's got to encourage Mikel, because it seems that could definitely bear fruit in these next few matches, where they're not going to be playing Liverpool, they're not going to be playing City, they're not going to be playing Chelsea, they're going to be playing squads that are vulnerable to the press.
100%, and you got to think as well that with the trip to Dubai, this is all the stuff that they were going to be working on: patterns of play, pressing. Because you think before then, our press was it wasn't the best, so to speak. It went, one player went, another half went, two went, the other one was too far away. So I think we've worked a lot on that, and it's the case of now seeing it in fruition in real life, real world scenarios. We saw it against Man City when we played against them. We was very good at suffocating them in the first half. So if we're capable of doing that with these sorts of players, imagine when we get a proper striker in as well. And this is all the little steps that I know people want success now, but things are being worked on and foundations are being built, and it's just a case of getting the right people in, right foundations, and tweaking to certain opponents. So I think now that we've had this training camp, we can see what Arsenal are all about, and I think where we're winning like 1-0, and you get the opposition team captain coming out about us celebrating, it's getting people salty. So I think that they are starting to realise Arsenal is not going to be a walkover anymore, and that we're back on the rise. And just a quick word on the old Wolverhampton celebration police.
Oh no.
they best get used to it when they come back on the 25th, 24th, 25th. So yeah, but they done us a favour against Spurs, so can't be too harsh on them, I suppose.
Right. We're just taking a quick glance over the United result, which was 0-0 to half, but they've squeezed a goal across against Brighton. So hopefully for equalizer. They've had their problems finishing matches. But back to the pod. I like the way you teed up. With the summer, things can get better. Interesting news here on my side of the ocean, in that Sunday evening, KSE's NFL franchise, the Los Angeles Rams, won the Super Bowl. They won a championship. A lot of chatter all throughout the season about, why are they investing in the Rams? Are they not investing in Arsenal? And interesting to me that following the season, this was a club where KSE made a massive investment in picks, in contracts, in acquiring veteran players. They went all in to win this season, and they did. And afterwards, there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of speculation what this is mean for Arsenal, and nothing definite. But to my eyes, it means nothing bad. I think they should be emboldened now, seeing, hey, we invested in a club, we went for a championship, we got a championship. And very different in terms of age. This is a much more veteran squad in Los Angeles. Investing similarly in Arsenal is going to actually lengthen the window, whereas is investing all now, and the Rams kind of shortened it because they had to squander resources that can let them bring in younger players and extend the window of winning. But they want a championship, and their thinking was, if we get the championship, nothing matters. It was worth it. Here, again, it excites me as an Arsenal fan. I'm not a Rams partisan, but I follow the NFL closely. And as an Arsenal partisan, it excites me because a similar investment in this club is going to mean if they get the players, that window of opportunity grows. And I just think now it's beyond a pipe dream. I think we have to expect it, that Arsenal is going to be a player. It's just down to Mikel and the squad and the assistants to get into Europe, especially if they get into the top four. Then we can really dream big.
Yeah, I think as well is that I believe I might be making this up, but I saw some comments coming out from Josh Kroenke.
Yes, I saw similar. Yeah,
saying that he wants Arsenal to get back to the invincible level, and that it's the football fans over this side of the pond take things a lot more seriously and a lot more passionately about their club. And it's we've had this conversation many times, and like we've been KSE in for quite a while, and I think that it's good for other fans to start seeing the ambition that they're trying to bring across. Because to say that's no mean feat. That's going to take investment. It's going to take time, and it's also going to take a lot of hard work by the playing staff, the managerial staff, the staff that's dealing with transfers, Ben Knapper and his staff that's dealing with the loans for our next generations coming through. It's just generally a whole shift in attitude from the club, because you've got to think, when we was with Unai Emery, there was nothing like this. Everything was silent. It was, a lot of it was just left up to the experts and Ivan and Raul. And realistically, they set this club back 3-4 years, to be honest. But we are where we are. They've had Mikel and his team has had a massive overhaul in the squad, and that's still not even finished, which is the scary part as well.
Right, there's still more to go out. Right, we know Leno's going to be gone. We know El Neni's going to be gone. Holding may leave. We're not sure. Pepe will probably leave, right? Lacazette's going to leave almost certainly, and Nketiah is probably going to leave. That's 5 players that I just named right there. That's a quarter of your squad that has to be replaced. So, and again, at right back, Cedric. That's 6. Yeah, a lot of work to be done. Right.
So if I truly believe Mikel Arteta wants 2 quality players in each position. So if we need to rotate, or there's an injury or suspension or whatever, another quality player can come in and not disrupt the flow of the team. Because you've got to think that our first 12, 13 are quality players, and if any of them come in, then you've got no worries. But beyond that, you're starting to worry.
Right.
Starting to worry.
And the concern for me, and I mentioned this, because I get to see, the KSE has the Rams in the NFL, they have the Colorado Avalanche in the NHL, they have the Denver Nuggets in the NBA, and they have Arsenal. Okay, those are their 3 American clubs, and they have Arsenal. People talk about the team in MLS, but MLS is really minor league compared to these 4. These are world leagues in their respective sports. And where they've been successful, their MO is hire a quality general manager, director of football, name what you have, let them hire a quality coach, manager, again, whatever the designation is, and let them run things. And that has been very successful to them in the other sports. And so when we look at Les Snead, who helmed the Rams, did a very effective job. We look at Joe Sakic, who's running the Avalanche, who are one of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup and have been for the last 2 years. They've had injury problems in the playoffs. They've been knocked off track, but they've been consistent contenders for a title and have to be one of the favorites to win it this year. That model KSE is very hands off, and I think that's the expectation when people look at Chelsea and they look at other clubs that are a lot more hands on. That why don't we run them like them? That's not the KSE model. To me, the one fear as an Arsenal partisan is that when we look at the general managers of the other squads, and then we look at Edu, I'm not clear that he's up to their standard of management in closing deals.
Mm.
And time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because obviously he had a good summer and then not so good January. So it'll be very interesting to see how the summer goes again.
Right. But again, we'll talk about this, I guess, on another program. But we all know they need a striker. They probably need two forwards who can score. Perhaps another winger on the right to rotate with Saka so he's not burned out. In case he suffers an injury. I don't expect Nico Pepe to be on the squad next fall when the new season begins. They probably need another player to rotate with Odegaard in an attacking mid, unless, let's bring up a name here, unless they want to have Emile Smith-Rowe work more centrally or something like Gabriel Martinelli. It brings us to a rumor that surfaced this morning from AC Milan. The Portuguese player Rafael Leao is named as a possible target this summer. What can you tell the viewers about him?
Yeah, so having a look at him this season, he's played primarily as a left forward, so in the left wing position. He likes to dribble. He's good on the counter attack. He's got a good range of passing. He's not dominant in the air, which as a if you're thinking about putting him in as a number 9, then that's a bit of a concern considering that the amount of crosses that we do tend to put in. But if he's coming in for the left-hand side, there was also a concurrent news report from Football London and our friends there saying that Martinelli has been training as a number 9 within training. So whether or not he's going to be lined up as an option for the rest of the season or whether that's more of a long-term thing is yet to be seen. But it's interesting nonetheless. I've had this argument, well, I say argument, the discussion with people online. For me personally, I don't think Martinelli is, I wouldn't say good enough because he is good enough. I don't think that he has the correct skill set for the current system to be playing as a number 9. Obviously, he could be doing it in training to develop this skill set, but for me, I think that he's more effective in the left inside forward, left wing role. So it's difficult to say unless, as you say, Smith Rowe comes in as number 10 to be the alternative to Odegaard or rotational option and competitor. It's difficult to say to see where Mikel is going with this rumor. That's if it's true, to be honest. But we've also got to think AC Milan have more or less come out and said that he's irreplaceable for them. So I think it's going to be highly unlikely this one comes off because given his importance to that side, the only thing that would get him out of there for us is if he wants a new challenge and wants to go to a different league. But I think that given how stacked we are in that position, I wouldn't see too much in it, to be honest.
Okay, so and so many possibilities, and we've seen this with all these Italian clubs, and we've seen it, Vlahovic, we've seen it, Locatelli. I mean, this could be agent talk. If Milan wants to keep this guy, this could be a way to goose them and say, okay, show him more money, show your love for him, because we've seen Arsenal burned by that tactic more than once.
Yeah, we seem to be a common name for players wanting a new contract at clubs or bigger wages at other clubs. It's hard to take as a fan because obviously you get drawn into the rumors, especially if they're players that are ones that you can see is going to bring you to the next level. But ultimately, for us, we tend to look like looking through the lines in the media, and 9 times out of 10 we sniff out a good story. So it's just interesting to see how and if this one progresses, and if it does, then fair play. We're gonna have to start looking at systems and where he fits in. But given what it is at the moment, I wouldn't be looking too much into it.
All right. Match on Saturday. All right. Things are developing around Arsenal. I mean, I'm checking very quickly. United is winning their match, although they have 2 matches in hand, and after this match, Arsenal will have 3 matches in hand over United. But this will put pressure if United gets their 3 points. They will pull, I believe it's 4 points ahead of Arsenal in the table with those matches to be played. So we know every match is important from here on out for Arsenal Football Club. They're going to get their rematch against Brentford. I'm sure they still, even though it was week 1, they still have a bad taste in their mouth from that, with the COVID hitting them, having to start on the road with a depleted squad, losing in embarrassing fashion to the new boys, one of the new squads in the Prem, 2-0. This is their chance to exact some measure of revenge, and just in a more practical sense, just keep building the momentum, keep rising up the table. They could probably reel in West Ham winning this match and move themselves into 5th in the table. On the flip, after pretty solid start, Brentford has really kind of hit an icy patch here. They only have 1 point from their last 5 matches. They're sitting 14th on the table. They're 7 clear of the drop, so they're not in any immediate danger, but they're only 3 points out of 17th place.
Yeah, it's going to be one, as Ryan said in the initial, it's going to be one of these games that are won or lost in the centre of midfield. Now, given that by the looks of the training pictures, we've got everyone back including Tomiyasu, I would expect us to come away with 3 points here. And if we don't, I'd be quite surprised. And I'd be quite surprised if we don't. Ultimately, we've just got to out battle them in the middle of midfield. We've got to make sure that we're able to stick away our chances. That's going to be the big one for us. I think that we've got enough quality, especially given that full squad's coming back. So it'll be interesting to see how the game plays out. But I think that we've definitely got our sights set on the 3 points, and if we're able to suffocate them, then I think it'll be game over. They'll panic.
Prediction? I've got mine, but I'm gonna see if you always seem to trump mine, but I'm gonna let you go first anyway.
I'm gonna go 2-1.
Okay, I'm gonna say 2-0. I mean, I'm impressed with this squad. They really do seem to focused. That was clear against Wolves. They didn't panic. They had lots of opportunities to panic. There were moments in that second half, kind of midway, the first kind of middle 20 minutes, where Wolves really just seemed kind of set up shop around the Arsenal box. Squad kept us cool. A couple of moments where the ball bounced around, but the squad kept its cool. I think they have ultimate confidence now in Aaron Ramsdale, that if you're going to beat him, it's going to take something special. And I think, Gabriel, we've talked about him and his talent. He seems to be kind of dialing his composure into, I think he's finding an understanding of the expectations, how the matches are called, what's permissible, keeps himself out of trouble, to my eyes. And then again, as you said, having Tomiyasu back will be massive. So I'm gonna say another clean sheet, because they've become quite good at that. So anything else that pops to mind that we may have missed in these 40 some odd minutes that we've been kicking it about?
I'm not too sure. Unfortunately, I've not been able to keep up with news as much as I like due to work commitments. But I think that given that games are coming in thick and fast, this is going to be a very interesting time.
Right. And obviously a time when, as you said it, we'll end with this. Arsenal has an incredible opportunity to rise up the table, solidify their position. All right, we seem to be having the dreaded technical difficulties, but I want to say hopefully we'll get Sam back in the next few seconds and he can sign off with me. But if he is not able, I want to say thanks to all of you out there who joined us here. On this latest edition on StreamYard. For Sam, somewhere out in the ether, I'm Raphael, and I want to bid you a good night.